When I tell people that I'm plant-based and that I don't eat any animal products and no processed foods, they often ask, what do you eat then? So I thought I would make a video giving a glimpse inside of my pantry and my food storage to not only just show you what it looks like, so that you can become familiar with some of the foods and things that I'm eating, but also to see and have a visual of the huge variety of foods that you can eat when you're plant-based. So I actually have a very small pantry in my kitchen. So we use our guest room as a little bit of our food storage extension. So I'm going to show you where we have that. Okay, so we have these shelves in our guest room. I know it's not the greatest thing to look at, but hey, if they're ever hungry, they can eat. So my family is not 100% whole food plant-based like I am. So occasionally you may see some things that probably wouldn't be considered whole food plant-based. So just keep that in mind, that we do probably have some things that I wouldn't eat. The thing I'm noticing right now is that spice cake mix. So anyway, these are where I keep our sugars. So I have my honey and maple syrup and the vegan chocolate chips and extra vanilla, coconut sugars behind there, and the cacao powder. And down here I have our cans, and I also have them over here. And I'll probably get asked the question. These are from Shelf Reliance. I've bought them a long time ago, so I don't know if they still make them, but if you are interested, go to that website. So I have our cans. This is the pumpkin that I use for a bunch of my recipes, breads and cookies and things, and I do tomatoes and all kinds of beans and olives. And one of the snacks that I usually will take with me are Larabars. The majority of them are whole food plant-based, and my kids like them too. I always have a stash of cashews for sauces and spices, nutritional yeast, and nut butters. So this is just kind of like my back stock for pantry. When I'm running out of something in the kitchen, this is where I stash it. So I will show you now what's in the kitchen. Okay, so coming into our kitchen, you can see we just have this one small pantry, and I have 5 kids, so this little pantry just doesn't cut it. That's why we have that back stock in the other room. But on this shelf, I have, again, kind of our sugar things. So I have cacao nibs, and this is shredded coconut. And then I also have all of our nuts. So almonds and the cashews are over there. I have pistachios. It's a really great snack. And then we use tahini in sauces and marinades and things like that I use in tofu and vegetables. And we also do the nutritional yeast for flavoring in lots of sauces. So I have my oat flour there, but most of my other flours are down here. So I have back here, I reuse all of my cashew containers from Costco to store my grains. So this is chickpea flour and almond flour, and this is brown rice flour and honey, of course. And behind here is wheat bran. And in this little container, I have the things that I use a lot. My chia seeds and my flax seeds for my smoothies, but also cornmeal, there's cornstarch, and the cacao powder in there as well. I have this drawer for breakfast items. So it's like my oats, steel cut oats. These are brown rice cakes my kids like to eat. They'll spread peanut butter on them. This is my quick stash of just beans and grains. And down here are kind of the snacks that are plant-based, but they're not whole food because they usually will have oil in them, but they're for my kids. So they do like the veggie straws and just treats like this that they're whole food and vegan, but again, they're not oil free, or I shouldn't say they're not 100% whole food. They're a little bit processed. And then I have a pretty big selection of spices, because spices and herbs are your friend when you're eating plant-based. And I really feel like you cannot go wrong in adding more, if not double, the spices that recipes call for. It just makes them taste so much better. And then over here in this cupboard, I just have my grains that are often used so that they're, quickly accessible. And then also up here, I have a big stash of grains and beans, and I just label it so that I know exactly what it is that I'm going for, and where it's at, and to kind of keep it handy for me. And let me show you the fridge. Okay, here is my fridge. This right here is the liquid gold. I always have smoothies in my fridge to grab on the go, especially if I'm going to be leaving in the morning somewhere where I may not have time to make it that morning. I will always make it the night before. So no excuses, right? Again, my family is not 100% whole food plant-based. Sometimes they bring in some animal products, but I strategically place them in the back so that they can't get to them very easily. What I usually do is on this shelf is where I store all of my leftovers and things that are in containers, just so that we know right where to go. And behind my smoothies are like all of my other things that are in jars that aren't on the door. And I wanted to show you, I get these jams at Costco, and I do occasionally enjoy these as a condiment, right? Because I'm not eating this as my main food source, but what I look for is I do not ever eat anything that has high fructose corn syrup in it. I am fine eating a little bit of sugar, but I do not eat any of those processed, highly processed foods. And then down here are my vegetable and my fruit drawer. And right above the vegetable drawer, I will store the vegetables that don't fit. So I have lots of cruciferous vegetables because I make sure I eat lots of those. And then above my fruit drawer is where I keep my fruit. And then again on the door, we have our plant milks and veggie broth and our other condiments. And some of the main ones that I use are the Bragg's aminos. And this is a coconut aminos. It's a little bit sweet, but I use that on, I'll saute vegetables and then make like a brown rice ramen noodle. And then we just pour a little bit of that on it, and it's really, really good. My kids love it. And at Sprouts, they make these barbecue sauces that do not have high fructose corn syrup in them. And I love this one on my veggie sandwiches. And then we have just the regular barbecue sauce that we put on our black bean burgers. And then in our freezer, I keep a whole bunch of frozen bananas always in stock. On my counter, I usually keep a big basket of bananas. And when they start getting spots on them, that's when I put them in the freezer. And I always have a lot of avocados. So back to the freezer again really quick. On the bottom, I have just more frozen vegetables, the cauliflower. I buy these black bean tamales that I found that are vegan. And just the frozen fruit that I use in my smoothie. And that's about it for getting a glimpse into our kitchen. But I hope this was helpful, just getting a glimpse in seeing what my pantry looks like and what my food storage looks like, and getting an idea of the wide variety of foods that we're able to eat, even though we're not eating meat and processed foods and animal products. Really, the majority of food comes from plants, and we're just, I think, naive to the variety that is actually out there. So just take a look at the whole produce section when you go into a grocery store and just see how wide variety all of those foods are that you're able to eat. And all of the grains and beans and rices that are so good. And the first step in switching to a whole food plant-based diet is cleaning out your pantry of all those foods that are not serving you and healing your body. Take out all of your processed foods that are void of nutrition. They're usually high in sodium and high in fat from oils, and start that way. Just clean out your pantry and bring in the new so that you don't have a temptation or something to fall back on, when you're in that moment of weakness. Get it out of the house so that it's not even an option. So anyway, I hope this was helpful, and I'll talk to you later.